Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 23 of Matt Chat. I am Melissa Ross, your mindset coach with Rise to Wellness, and I'm glad that you could join us today for episode 23. You'll notice in the comments that today's episode is called My Story, and in speaking with one of my mentors, it occurred to me that I've been talking a lot about mindset, about positive mindset, about victim mentality. Hi, Michael. Thanks for joining us tonight. I've been talking about victim mentality, about positive mindset. The last few weeks we've been talking about courage and strength, specifically in this current environment that we're in this COVID-19 crisis, courage and strength and all of those things. And I mentioned it last week that one of the biggest side effects or things that we're going to notice, and I think we're starting to notice it now, is mental health concerns, mental health issues. And I think that we can see that with a lot of people now who were already having mental health issues. And in speaking with one of my mentors, she pointed out to me that I've never really shared my story. So here it is, friends. My story began about 8 years ago, a little over 8 years ago. One night, I walked out of my house. It was dark. I got in my car, and I cried, and I drove to a friend's house. And when I got there, I had no idea how I got there or why I was there. And I had left behind my baby girl and my 2-year-old son. I drove away from them. I just left the house and drove away from them. And I didn't know why, and I didn't know why I was at the friend's house, or I didn't even remember driving there, to be honest. I don't know how I got there. I rang on her doorbell, and the only thing that I knew walking into her house was that her kids were upstairs sleeping in their beds, and she was home with her kids. And my kids are about the same age as hers. My daughter was a baby, and my son was 2. And I had left mine behind. She was at home with hers, taking care of hers, and I just drove away from mine. And I was lost. I was in a deep, dark hole, and I just sat in her living room and cried and told her I was in a dark hole and I didn't know how to climb out of it. And it didn't matter what she said to me. It didn't matter that she was there for me and supportive of me. I was alone. And nothing was going to take that loneliness away. Hey, Doug. Thanks for watching. Hope you're well tonight. And that's where it began, friends. That's where my journey began. That's where my awakening began. Was running from my children. And sitting there, not knowing how I got there, but sitting there, not knowing how to get out of the deep, dark hole. It took me a long time, friends, to realize that that was my opportunity to grow and to heal. And I know that it was postpartum depression and severe anxiety. Like, I'm talking anxiety so severe, friends, that I couldn't be alone in a room with my baby girl. It started when she was, she was about 2 months old, 2.5 months old. And I couldn't be alone with her. She would cry and I would run from the room in panic, in full-on anxiety. I just couldn't do it. And I didn't raise her for the whole first year of her life. Her father got up and fed her every night through the night, and my mother came every day for a year. And she raised her. She helped my ex-husband now, but my husband at the time, raise her. And it was a long, long journey, friends. It was awakening. It was changing myself, finding myself. But that was the beginning. The beginning was running from my children instead of to them. Hi, Doug. Hi, Anna Durant. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us tonight. And I'm sharing this because I know that mental health is an issue. And I know that I'm speaking to someone out there that is going through the same thing. And I can tell you right now that I've been there. I understand how it feels. But guess what? I made it through, and I know you can too. And that's really why I'm here. That's why I've created Mat Chat. That's why I show up every week on my mat to talk to you guys about shifting your mind and shifting your mindset. But that's where my story began. And it took me a good year to, it was what they called exposure therapy. And it's funny, friends. It wasn't funny at the time, but I've heard a friend of mine has likened it to a spider phobia. You know, when someone's afraid of spiders and they do exposure therapy with them to, you know, put them beside one spider and then closer and then have it walk on their hand and that kind of stuff. I did that with my baby. When she was 6 months old, it took me that long to be well enough to venture out with her. When she was 6 months old, my homework was to be with her for half an hour. And it terrified me. Absolutely terrified me. And I'm not talking alone. My mom drove myself and my son and my baby daughter. She drove us to the library, to the local library at the community center. And it was a half an hour library group. And so my mom would take my son into the early years program. And so she was right there, like across the hallway. I wasn't alone. Do you know what I mean? But for all intents and purposes, I was alone with her. And I was having a lot of anxiety about it. I was terrified. It was, I think, like probably one of the hardest things I've done in my life. Hi, Iriro. It's nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. It was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. I cried through the first 2 sessions. It was, I think, a 6-week program, and it was a half an hour. And I mean, we were reading books and playing with toys and singing songs, and I was terrified. Like, I remember sitting with my anxiety counselor. It was called cognitive behavioral therapy, and I remember sitting with that counselor, and he was like, okay, like, you don't have to do anything big. You don't have to drive there. Hi, Tammy. Thanks for joining us tonight. You don't have to drive there. You don't have to be alone with her in the place. Like, there's going to be other people in the library group with you. You just have to be there and play with her for half an hour. That's it. I didn't have to feed her. I didn't have to change a diaper. And I remember sitting there crying in his office, terrified, telling him I couldn't do it. And I could. I just needed somebody at the time to, you know, help me along and show me that I could do it, right? And I did. I did it. I cried through the first 2, and we got there, and we continued the exposure therapy. It took me a year. But eventually, I was getting up, and I was changing her diaper. And then a few weeks later, I got up, and I changed her diaper, and I started a bottle. And slowly, my mom shifted the time that she showed up. So instead of showing up at 7 o'clock in the morning to get her up and change her diaper and all of that when my husband left for work, she showed up at 7:15 after I had her up with a diaper. And then she showed up at 7:30 and I had the bottle started. And she came up to check on us and make sure we were okay. And that's how it went. I just built on it. I built on it and I built on it. And it was a daily practice. And it is, as with anything, anything that we're going through, with any adversity that we're going through. There's no magic pill. There's no magic wand. We don't just snap our fingers and get a prescription and all of a sudden it's over. It's a daily practice. It's something we do every day. We get up every day and we know that we're just going to do it. We're going to get through it, and we're going to feel the fear, and we're going to do it anyway. And I've raised my kids that way, to feel the fear and do it anyway. But that's where my story began, friends. That's where my story began. Running from my children instead of to them, and learning how to be a mom. How to be a mom again, because I already was a mom. I had a 2-year-old son, and I didn't have those issues when I had him. But a lot of things came out of that. I learned a lot about myself. There's a lot of mom guilt. I mean, we have enough mom guilt already, friends, right? There was a lot of, I drove away from my kids. Something I never thought I would do. If you ask me today, I might joke about it, as us moms often do. But I know there's somebody else out there. I'm talking to you right now. And you're not joking. You really want to do it. And you have done it. And I'm telling you that it's okay. It's okay. It's going to be okay. No, I'm just looking. We have more people joining us. Thanks for joining us. Hey, Brian. Thanks for joining. So that's where it all began, friends. That's where my journey began. That's where my healing began. It's been a long, long journey. I've done a lot of healing in the last 8 years. It went on from there. And I won't share it all tonight, friends, because there's lots to share. But in the wake of all of this mental health stuff and everything coming out, I wanted to let all of you know, and hopefully there's somebody out there that's listening that really needs to hear it, that it's okay. It's going to be okay. And it happens, Michael says, thank you for sharing your story. It takes courage and vulnerability. Thank you, Michael. And it never honestly really occurred to me that I had never shared that. Father Paul's watching. Hope you're well tonight. It never occurred to me that I never shared that. And that's where it all began. So I spent a year having exposure therapy. And it's funny, at the same time as I was going through postpartum depression and anxiety, I was really sick too. I had a lot going on. I had some gastrointestinal issues, and I just couldn't keep any food in. And that was part of the healing journey and part of the anxiety. So the anxiety was not only about being around my daughter and being a mom to her and figuring out how to parent her, and how to get over the anxiety of that, but the anxiety was health anxiety too. I couldn't leave the house, and I couldn't keep anything in, and I dropped a lot of weight. I dropped to, I was about 115 pounds when she was 6 months old. And by the time she was a year old, I dropped to 105 pounds. And just nobody knew what was wrong, and nothing was staying on. Oh, a Euro says you're a doll. Thank you, honey. So that was part of my healing journey as well. Figuring out all of this gastrointestinal stuff, trying like crazy to keep some kind of food inside me. Hey, Raisha, hope you're well tonight. Oh, she says, wow, you're really brave. Thank you for sharing. Oh, thanks, hon. So the journey was also about healing what my gastrointestinal issues are, and figuring out what I could eat and what I could nourish my body with to survive. Stanley's watching, and he says, Melissa, we need more people like you in this world. Thank you. Father Paul says, just join now. So nice to hear your story. I'm off to do night prayer. Oh, yes, we will join into night prayer soon. Thanks, Father Paul. Maria Garcia is watching. Glenn Edwards is watching. Thanks for joining us tonight, friends. So a part of that healing journey was all of the gastrointestinal stuff. And Father Paul is off to do night prayer, but if he's still on, it's funny, I will share about my daughter's baptism too. She was about 3 months old, and I was already having all of these gastrointestinal issues. And I was mortified to leave the house. I was not well enough to organize her baptism. And the family really all pitched in. Like, my mom pitched in, my dad brought me to, it was Antipastos at the time, and sat with me and made sure that this big, huge Italian feast was ordered, and helped my sister decorate the hall. It was at the cathedral. And it's the big church in our area. Marty's watching. Hope you're well tonight. So that's the big church in our area, and I was raised in that church, and by my dear friend, Bishop Wayne. He wasn't a bishop at the time, but he was doing the baptism for us, and my whole family pitched in to make sure that this baptism was made possible because I was so ill. And the only thing I could think about was, how am I going to stand here? How am I going to stand there on the altar? Because I was running to the bathroom every 2 minutes. I couldn't put any food in my mouth. I couldn't drink water without running to the bathroom. Everything went right through me. And I wasn't quite 105 pounds yet at that time. I was about maybe 120, 115 pounds, but I had dropped a lot of weight quick. And it was like the world was ending. Like, just mortified about how I was going to stand in front of all of these people on this altar in front of everybody and not have to not run to the bathroom, right? Not be able to run to the bathroom in the middle of her baptism. And I remember sitting with my mom, like, bawling, and her convincing me that it was okay to wear adult diapers. Oh my God. Like, I'm telling you, A, they were a lifesaver, an absolute lifesaver for me. B, I was mortified that people would know. That people would know that that's what was going on, and that I was wearing them. And I'm telling you, thank God I had the strength and the courage and the bravery to do it, and to get out of my own head and go ahead and wear them, because they got me through. And I didn't eat anything the entire baptism. I drank maybe about 3 sips of Gatorade that went right through me. It was the most beautiful ceremony. She was so loved. And everybody, like my entire family, was there to love her and make sure that it happened. And it was incredible. But I didn't make it through. Like, I had an accident right at the end of the reception. But I had the courage and the strength to do it. Thank goodness. And I mean, after that, I don't even know why I'm tearing up. That's so funny. I guess the memory of it, I don't talk about it, right? And which is why I'm talking about it now, because I know that people are like, there are people out there that are there, and I know, and I want you to see me now and see that you can heal from it. Yes, you have to work at it every day, and yes, you have to get up every day and say, today I'm going to make it through. I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, and maybe I'm just going to get up and make it through. Hi, Irina. Hope you're well tonight. Thanks for watching. But it's a daily commitment to get up every day and heal and make it through. And so I'm going to say again, I know that there's somebody out there that I'm talking to, and I know you're shaking your head and you're listening, and I know you're feeling the same thing. I know you're feeling like you want to run from your kids. I know you're feeling like you're in a dark place. I know you're struggling. Hi, Sonia. Thanks for watching. I know that you're struggling, but I also know that you have the strength to make it through. And I know that you have the strength and the courage to find the help that you need. Accept the help that you need. And I always tell my daughter, I was just telling my daughter this the other day when we were talking about online learning. What shows great strength and courage is 3 things. 1, realizing that you need help. 2, asking for the help you need. And 3, accepting the help. If you can do that, if you can realize that you need the help, ask for the help, and then accept the help when it's given, you're on your way. You're a rock star. Because those 3 things are the hardest things for most people. So I ask you tonight, friends, find the courage and the strength to know that you need help, to ask for the help, and to accept it. Because that's what I did. And here I am. Here I am today on my journey. So I will share more of my journey another day, another evening on Matt Chat. But that was the beginning of my journey, friends. And I thank you for being here to listen. I wish you all a good night. I'm about to go put some kitties to bed now, some wonderful kitties to bed now who are old now. They're 8 and 11 now. So it was a while ago. But I thank you all for watching. Have a great night, friends.